children of Yah, Almighty Most High. We're with Him. We won't die. We're the apple of His eye. Let me hear you sing.
Baruch haba Toda Rabbah Shaul Dog here once again with a little rant. I grew up in the Christian church, you know. I mean, I was dragged to church and everything like that, dragged to these, concerts and whatnot. I was, basically raised in Christianity. You know, a Jewish kid raised in Christianity. So, go figure. But, there were some forced conversions back in the history of my family and everything like that. And on my father's side, and then on my mother's side, her grandmother escaped Lithuania when Hitler invaded Poland just to escape the persecution of the Jews. She left the Judaism behind. And to adapt in the new homeland, she decided to just take on Christianity. So I had it from both sides. I grew up with Yiddish in the house, though, and a lot of Torah truth and everything like that. That didn't come into effect until later, though. But, I was always raised on, since the Messiah came and shed his blood, we are saved by grace. And it's like, well, you just keep doing what you were doing because you're saved by grace, because you acknowledge the Messiah. Okay, that sounds all right on the surface and everything. We're free now, and, we're told in the Christian church that, the Torah has been done away with, which is the instruction for life, basically. We were told that was done away with. And it's like, all right, whatever, okay. But then when I got older and actually more mature and actually started reading scripture and everything, I find over and over and over and over again how scripture says that the Torah is not done away with, that it's for all generations and everything else. And I'm thinking, well, if it's not done away with, if it's for all generations, then obviously we should still be following it. Well, so it made me look a little closer at the saved by grace doctrine. And the saved by grace doctrine basically is, you have grace, you can keep on sinning because the sin is no longer sin. Okay, you're freed from that sin. Doesn't matter if you commit the sin or not, you're freed from it because of the blood of the Messiah. Which is basically saying that sin is not sin anymore. That's what it's saying. So, the more you read scripture and everything, you realize that sin is sin, and sin is always going to be sin, and sin is always going to be wrong in the eyes of our Creator, Yahweh. So, it got me to read even deeper into the scriptures. And, Isaiah 5:20 always speaks into what Christianity is. Okay? Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Those who change darkness into light and light into darkness. Who change bitter into sweet and sweet into bitter. See, according to the Christian church, sin is no longer sin, even though it is sin. Okay? Which means evil is good in the eyes of the Christian church. And then, if you follow the instruction of the Creator, if you follow the Torah, if you obey the Ten Commandments and everything, all of a sudden you're a legalist, you're a Judaizer, and you are sinning against God because you reject the blood of the Messiah. Well, that comes from a position of ignorance, total and complete ignorance, because of the fact that all of Scripture was written by Jews. Jews who observed the Torah, Jews who obeyed the Torah, and Jews who taught the Torah, okay? All of it was written from beginning to end, from Genesis to Revelation, by Jews, okay? And no Jew is going to ever go against the Torah, not consciously, if they're wanting to serve the Father, okay? And the Messiah, he didn't come here just to shed his blood. If he was here just to shed his blood, then King Herod would have, taken care of that. And then it would have all been over. No, he had to go into his ministry And his ministry was teaching the proper way to follow the Torah. As a matter of fact, the Sermon on the Mount is all about the Torah. And he says twice in Matthew 5:17, I have not come to abolish the Torah of the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to complete, which means completing the prophecy that was written about him, and also completing the mission of living the Torah perfectly. Okay? He says twice he didn't come to abolish it. But see, in the Christian church, no. He came to complete it. He lived it out so we don't have to. But nowhere in Scripture are you going to see that. But then you look at the writings of Paul, and, well, the Christians twist that around and everything else to make it appear as if you don't have to follow the Torah. But it also states in Scripture that Yeshua said himself that he's going to send his angels in the final days. He's going to send his angels to collect all of those who are far from Torah and to cast them into the fires of Gei Hinnom. So, who's right, the pastor or Scripture? Who's right, the pastor of your church or the Messiah? I would say the Messiah is right and your pastor is wrong. Okay? And like I said, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, those who change darkness into light and light into darkness, who change bitter into sweet and sweet into bitter. In the Christian church, it is a sin to follow the Torah and to listen to the commander and the creator and the God of all, okay, the number one, the A and the Z of the whole universe, okay? It is a sin in the Christian church to follow the Torah and to obey our creator. But when you go against that scripture, when you go against the Ten Commandments, it's not a sin because you're covered under grace. Okay, so sin is good in the Christian church, but then obeying the Torah and the instructions of the God that they claim to worship, following his instructions, is wrong. Okay, so woe to those. Woe to those. When Yah says, woe to those, you better take heed, because his judgment's coming down on your head if you believe what the Christian church says. Fact is, no religion is going to get you to the kingdom. Okay? All you need is a scripture and a relationship with Yeshua, the Messiah. His name ain't Jesus. Okay? Jesus is the name of a false prophet, a false god, a figment of people's imagination. Okay? There is no letter J in in ancient Israel or anything like that. His name actually came from Isis. The proper pronunciation is Isis, okay? You're calling on the wrong name. Call on the right name. Call on Yeshua, the Messiah, and ask him to teach you his word. Get rid of the concordance. Get rid of all the man-made stuff. Get rid of all the doctrine. Just totally erase all that stuff from your mind and from your heart, and just you and your scripture and the Messiah. And I guarantee you, he's going to show you the depths of his word. And he's going to get you beyond that, just that basic top level human understanding. He's going to get you deep into his word, and he's going to show you all kinds of true meaning. I guarantee it. He will not fail you. Take care, folks. Take my words to heart. Take my words to heart. Trust in the Messiah.
He's El Shaddai, he's the Most High. Yeshua is alive, Yeshua is alive, Yeshua is alive, Yeshua is alive, Yeshua is alive. The Lord is my shepherd, I should